Okay.
The July 14th meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council will now come to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prior to the start of each council meeting, we have an opportunity for residents to address the council on issues related to Eden Prairie City government. If you wish to address us at this time, please contact the city manager's office at 949-8412 by noon of meeting dates with your name, the subject matter you wish to discuss, and a phone number. Then we will have you scheduled as a speaker. If time permits, following scheduled speakers, we have an opportunity for people just to spontaneously get up from the audience and ask us questions or give us an opinion about something. These portions of the meeting are not recorded or televised. If you have any questions about open podium, please contact the city manager's office. The first item tonight is a wonderful donation, and Mr. Lodhammer, are you going to start us on that?
Yes, Your Honor. Council members, you'll tonight recognize both John McCarthy and Dave Espy and a couple of the young men that are along with them from about a year ago coming forward to propose being a part of fundraising for building a miracle field. And they have been hard at work along with a group of boys that have been helping to raise the funds. And tonight they're here to present a check for a portion of the funds needed to raise and build the miracle field, and they'll outline some of the organizations that have contributed and some of the people that have contributed. But I also wanted to tell you about a couple items that are on the consent agenda that are related to this tonight. RJM Construction, who we're working with on the Aquatic Center, Community Center addition, has agreed to be the construction management firm at no cost. And so you'll see a construction management contract within the consent to enter into with RJM, but there's no cost for us to do that, but we do have that contractual agreement in play. And then you'll also see the award then, similar to how we did the pool, is we would award the contracts tonight and assign them over to RJM. So there are 5 or 6 separate contracts that come to $105,522 that really get the project going here this late summer, early fall to build the miracle field. So the technical side of that would be we did engage already with contractors, found the lower bids in those areas of work, and then we would ask you, by approving it on consent, to assign them over to RJM to get the work going on this. So to start us out with an overview of some of the key contributors, and John McCarthy is here to show you who gave, so John, right, there should be a small dot maybe.
From the ceiling.
Right there, you're close. If we can get the document camera to focus down and... Here we go. We can zoom out just a little.
Okay, I'll be verbal. But good evening. You want me to come up here?
Sure.
Good evening. My name's John McCarthy, and I'm here with some of the other leaders who have taken charge with the Miracle League. Not everybody could be here tonight, but Dave Espy, his son Mike Espy, and Logan McCarthy, my son, who they were on the original team that kind of really pushed us to move ahead with this, and the city allowed us to kind of move ahead with one of the sites, the current fields over at Flying Cloud. So tonight we wanted to give you a little progress report and give you a little check, and we have some good news. First off, we've collected about $175,000, which is pretty close to about 90% of our original goal of $200,000. And it's been across the board. Some nickels, some dimes, some dollars, and some big checks. Ed Flaherty from the Lariat Companies is our lead sponsor. He has committed $50,000. Then we have Best Buy, the Twins Community Fund, Emerson Process Management, and many other corporate donors. But one of the unique events, which a lot of you have been part of, is the Buy a Brick campaign. And we have probably 150 bricks that are going to be kind of the footstone of the field, and you can kind of see behind home plate there's a red colored rendering. This is just one idea that one of the landscape designers gave us to think about as we lay out kind of the founding investors. To kind of go through the expenses, so if we've collected 175, our expenses are really minor, of probably about $10,000, if that. That includes some marketing, and of course you have to pay PayPal every time somebody buys a brick, and there's a few other expenses that the Eden Prairie Foundation has had, and we've been blessed to be able to work with them. It's been a very nice conduit to work through them, leverage the 529, or not 529, the tax 501c, thank you, 501c program, and just
in college there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It is on my mind all the time. The one surprise we've had, we originally got a ballpark estimate of about $200,000 to build it. They came back at $250,000, and you guys are involved with a lot of projects. You know that happens. One of the items was, I think, just time. Expenses have gone up, but there's been some other items like the water retention pond. We weren't quite ready. We didn't know if we had to. And there's been a few ripple effects of that. The plain surface is a little more expensive, and frankly, we're expecting a little more in-kind donations from some of the vendors, and that's kind of our next mission. If we're pretty confident we'll be able to get that, and we have some other donors on the side, but we're about $80,000, you know, to really make this a turnkey event, and we appreciate that we're going to be able to start construction, and hopefully next August or this next month, your next meeting, we're going to bring more good news and get it across the goal line completely, because we'd like to build it once and start playing on it this fall or at the latest next spring. So great community event. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of work from the boys on and off. They haven't been involved with the fundraising aspect, but they're all over the town talking about it, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's the update. If you have any questions of the boys, if not, they have a little gift for you. So guys, come on up. Come on, Logan. Carry it. It's a heavy one. This is a check for, how much is it, Mike?
$120,399.
All right, 120, and I guess give it to the mayor.
Yeah, thank you. That's
Thank
not
you.
how you spell my name, though.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, and congratulations
All right.
for all of the great work that you did.
All right.
That's outstanding, and in the period of time that you raised this amount of money, it shows that there's a lot of interest in the community, a lot of compassion, and it's a wonderful program.
Yeah,
So
it
thank you
really
so
is.
much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, council members, the item then before you directly is the resolution to accept the donation.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
I would move to adopt the resolution accepting the donation in the amount of, now do I read the amount on the check or the amount in?
The amount on the check, please.
Okay, the amount. In the amount of $120,399 from the Miracle Field League Field Fundraising Group for the construction of the field.
Second.
Any comments or anything?
I would guess my only comment would be that I'm really impressed that they came together and pulled this money together so quickly, and it really, as you kind of alluded to, it just shows that there's so many people in Eden Prairie and around that are willing to support the community and be involved, and I'm always impressed with that, and it's just a wonderful.
Yeah. I'm sure it still took a lot of effort on your part, so thank you very much for pursuing this. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations. I look forward to watching construction happen. Thank you for all your work and your donation to the community. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda and other items of business?
Move approval. Second?
Is there anything to add or delete?
Mayor, I have a quick item on a city award that we received under report of city manager.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of the agenda as amended? Aye. Motion passes. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes from the council workshop held Tuesday, June 16th?
Move approval.
Second.
Any corrections to those? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes held, or the minutes for the same evening, but for the city council meeting, June 16th?
Move to approve the council meeting minutes.
Second.
Any corrections to those? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Motion passes. Consent calendar, items A through Q.
Move approval.
Second.
Any items to poll for discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. We have one public hearing, the shops at Southwest Station.
Thank
Mr.
you, Mayor.
Getchell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have one public hearing for a development project by Venture Past Partners on 1.67 acres. This is a planned unit development, concept review, district review, zoning district amendment, commercial regional service zoning district review on 13000 Technology Drive. This site is the most recently the Santorini's site. Originally, it was constructed in 1999 as the Pickled Parrot Restaurant, and this is the building that is in the Southwest Station Retail Center. The proposal before you tonight is for the construction of an 11,138 square foot multi-tenant building and deck. And in this proposal, the applicant proposes to remove the Santorini restaurant building, reuse quite a bit of the foundation and the pilings to construct the new building, where there are four proposed tenants. And currently the submittal discusses 3 restaurant uses and then also a dental use. And you can see quite a bit of the packet devotes time to the parking requirements related to that. Depending on the use, obviously, the parking can change. The staff recommends approval of the project and the PUD waivers in here that are carried over from the original PUD, and granting of those waivers are consistent with the use of the shared parking and the mixed-use development that is on the site. There are some enhanced architectural features, building design, and landscaping features with the project, and the Planning Commission voted 5-0 at their June 22nd meeting to recommend approval of the project. They did have some suggestions and minor changes that were made to the architecture of the building, which are also in your packet and noted as well. This is a public hearing. However, the project proponent is here to provide you with a brief overview of their project and then answer any questions that you may have, and staff can answer questions as well.
Okay.
Can we turn the site plan on the overhead?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, my name is Randy Rowdink with Venture Past Partners, and also with me tonight is Dave Carland, who's the president of Venture Past Partners, and Jim Ottenstein, our senior vice president. So we're very pleased tonight to present this project to you. We're very excited about the opportunity we have at Southwest Station, and looking forward to getting this in the ground. I do want to reference the site plan and just kind of run through just a general summary of what the project is, and as well as the landscaping, and I can probably just maybe do that from the podium. But as you look at that structure today, as Rick mentioned, we're utilizing a significant portion of the existing foundations under Santorini's, and that's really being done just in acknowledgement of the fact that that's a very deep piled site, an expensive and heavy foundation that we've done a fair amount of value engineering just to make sure that we're utilizing as much of that as we possibly can. We were able to engage the original engineers and some of the heavy the pile contractors from 1999 So we have a good basis for what went into that design and what exists today. So that I think that's going to ease the process. As you look at that site plan today, we're essentially shaving the north 20 feet off of the existing Santorini building. And what that allows us to do is pull our storefront back kind of in line with the Cloutier property you see on Lot 2. So those storefronts generally align. And what that also does then is allows us to add 30 parking stalls to the project. Where you see the double row of parking in front of us to the north, that's currently a single row today. So we've added a full 30 stalls, and then as well as relocating parking stalls at our storefronts. So understanding parking concerns within the development, that's gone a long way towards, I think, alleviating a lot of that and servicing our proposed tenants. The building is basically a 77-foot deep multi-tenant, 4-tenant building. Like I said, we've utilized a significant portion of foundations through the center core, just adding on some minor foundation elements east, west, and south where the deck sits. And even in those areas, we're able to take existing piles and pile caps that are under the Santorini's building and utilize them in the new structure. So I think that'll expedite the construction process and also make it a feasible project. Roughly 2,300 square feet on the south exposure, kind of the prime exposure, is a large deck area. Ornamental railings. We showed seating areas for 3 tenants, some low dividing rails which will accommodate just a separation for tenants and possible liquor license for 1 tenant, separations that are required. As you run down the full west foundation of that building along the main entrance drive, that entire foundation is screened with, there's juniper, sumac, a lot of ornamental grasses and variegated grasses. Stuff that has some significant height to help screen the foundation as the grade starts to drop, as well as adding a bunch of color. We've also had some sumac and juniper down on the corner. A large section of kind of a paver patio at the lower level south of the deck that again is very well screened. Some concern was raised part of the planning commission with staff that center median that divides ingress from egress currently is kind of it's blocked, and it's solid white pine and spruce that blocks the sight lines and some visibility and some obvious safety concerns. So what we're showing on this landscape plan, there's some new honey locust trees, some just overstored canopy trees, and then below that there's more variegated grasses, and then some Walker's Low, which you might recognize as a kind of a brilliant lavender purple spire and some minty green leaves, so a lot of color. And then southeast of the building as well, there's a rain garden area, which the primary purpose obviously is responding to requirements of Riley Purgatory Watershed District, but also adding some significant color and screening in that corner. Blue stem, phlox, a lot of flame grasses, prairie grasses. There's 3 swamp white oak trees as well as some serviceberry trees. So I think a lot of color, a lot of varying height. Seasonally, as well as obviously over the summer. Out in the parking lot, canopy trees, birch clusters on the northeast corner of the building. So I think a very well conceived landscape plan, keeping in mind some screening requirements and the desire to screen the underside of the deck and the exposed foundations on the sides of the building. We also maintained all of the existing the paver sidewalks and the ornamental light poles and tree grates that are part of the the overall PUD. So those details have all been maintained, kind of in addition to what's being added in this case. Significant accommodations for Riley Purgatory, some fairly stringent and some fairly new requirements this year, and that's involving some reshaping and sloping of the parking lot, some specialty stormwater structures. We're trying to be very careful to use existing storm structure foundations. I mean, all of those structures are also supported on piles, and a lot of the utilities here are I-beam supported. So we're being careful in how we reuse what's there and supplement it as we need to. But that kind of describes the site, and I think you guys have in the packet the elevations. We've taken great care to address some real four-sided architecture. I think some really nice work with stone and brick, just limited use of EIFS, significant glazing on all 4 sides of the building. Some very canopy work, eyebrow canopies and awnings. I think it's been very well conceived. And
Could we see pictures of the front? I believe you have them, and the audience at home can't possibly see them without some pictures.
Can we zoom that out a little bit for me?
The image on top of the screen is the storefront, the north elevation of the building, which is the primary tenant entrances. And you see a significant brick corner tower detail at that northwest corner, and that tower is then duplicated on the west side along the access drive. Brick and cultured stone and brick, a lot of these finishes kind of match what you see today in the transit building. The brick is uniform throughout the park. You see a lot of cultured stone that's duplicated at the Ruby Tuesday building. We've been careful to take some colors and some design cues from all of the surrounding projects, but then make something that's I think contemporary and modern and fresh for 2015. Large expanse of brick at the center, 2 tenants with stone bases as well. Just limited use of ephes and some sign bands. You see at that east entrance kind of a brick arch detail with some eyebrow canopies. Over all those glass areas, there are suspended turnbuckle supported type metal canopies and different details. The next image below that is, of course, the rear elevation to the south. You can see that the whole south elevation is significant storefront. Exit doors from all of the tenants onto the large deck area. There's 5 to 6 feet of grade separation at that point, so that deck will be supported on piers, but well screened with landscaping elements that we described earlier. And then on the east and the west end caps as well, it's primarily brick with the cultured stone and some awning details. Warm neutral colors, and I think colors that are going to be harmonious with both Lot 3 and with Southwest Transit and with the Anchor Bank and with Ruby Tuesday. So with that, any questions, I'd be happy to entertain.
Yeah, you've talked about 4 tenants, but when I look at the front of this building, and it's a very nicely done building, I think, I see 5 doors and I see 5 sign spots, so I'm kind of confused.
The west tenant, which is the right-hand side of that upper image, you see a brick tower on the corner and then an ephes sign field. That's actually all of the exposure for that suite. We'll call that Suite 110. We show 2 signs. Potentially there'd be a logo above the doors and maybe the channel letters over the rest of the glass. But whatever signage they end up with, that's actually would have to be within the allowable square footage, for that specific tenant. But that's 1 tenant. The brick span that you see in the center is actually 2 tenants. And then the brick to the east, the ephes sign band and the brick arch to the east, that's the 4th tenant.
So one of the tenants has 2 doorways?
There are 2 doors illustrated out of their storefront. That's really going to be a factor of when we get the final plans from these tenants, where they position that entrance relative to their dining rooms or their, in that case, that's the dental tenant. There might be 1 door, there might be 2. Any area where you see glass storefront, those areas could accommodate the door. So those doors are subject to shift based on a final tenant layout. But
So you're saying that the center one is the dental?
With 2 doors?
the one image where you see 2 doors, that would be the dental. That's under the brick sign band.
Yep.
And then the west end of that brick sign band is the 2nd tenant.
Are these spaces spoken for at this point then, or?
We're in lease discussions with all those spaces. I'll let Dave Conlon address that specifically, but just to put a cap on it, that's the 1st tenant right there. That's the 2nd tenant. That's the 3rd tenant, that being dental.
No, dental is mine, me too.
Okay, so are you also saying then that the signage indicated on this plan is not necessarily indicative of how the signs will ultimately be placed because you don't know what the tenants are, but you will meet our sign code?
We will meet the sign code. The sign band is essentially, that's locked in. I mean, the signs are going to fall within the upper ephes band and within the framed brick element on the center tenants. The actual tenant signage, obviously, which will bear the tenants' names and logos, will all be subject to allowable square footage and all sign ordinance requirements of the city.
Okay.
We do have on our elevations, there is actually sign calculation work, square footage work that was done just to show maximum allowable square footage and kind of that area where signs can be located.
Okay. Councilmember Nelson.
I had one more question on the parking plan. You seem to have all the handicapped parking in front of part of the building and nothing on the other end of the building, which would, for some people, limit what could be at their door. And I was wondering why it had been done instead of spread one on each side of the building to give a little more access to people and the restaurants.
I got to stay over here just to walk through this.
Yeah, and then you
Those
can get
mics are
behind the
live, so-
microphones there.
One of the unique constraints on this site is the amount of slope and grade change that happens today. And when you get to this west end of the property, this drive lane and the rear deck area is significantly lower than the finished floor elevations. So we went through a lot of effort looking at all of the grading plan scenarios to tie into the existing asphalt on our north property line to slope back to meet our existing building. If you recall today, Santorini's is actually an elevated almost deck entrance, which kind of works well for a single tenant user. But when you look at a multi-tenant strip, that's obviously problematic. We have been able to bring that parking lot grade level with the storefront essentially in this span, which is the reason you see handicap parking in place. From that point over, you start to get a small retaining wall that drops to about 3 feet at this corner, which is why you see a stair at that point.
So how do people access?
Well, this whole center curb cut, this is grade level from the parking lot, and all of these parking stalls right here, they head in, they nose in level with the front sidewalk. So the requirements for ADA parking, we tried to position some stuff initially kind of out across the aisle in the center field, and really what we're finding just for code requirement is that those spaces have to be located at the most convenient, closest point to the building. And that is the span on the building where those spaces can be grade level with the sidewalk.
Those spaces to the west then, though, is there going to be stairs up to the fronts of those restaurants? Or there's got to be some way for people to access them that park there?
There is. But understand there's really 3 points of access. It's right here at grade level, through the center peninsula, through the entrance sidewalk, and this end there's stairs that take you right up to that storefront, and as well as the ramps and it's grade level at the east end as well. So yeah, there's a series of 6 parking spaces there. Remember that's just one tenant that occupies that whole space. So it's not that multiple tenants are having to traverse any great distance. They've got a door right on the corner, and they can also access from that point.
Is that all, Kathy?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Wickstrom.
Oh, I already had.
Oh, you already asked your question. Okay. Was discussion made of, what happens if you don't get a dental tenant and you can't find a tenant with a similar parking requirement?
Our internal discussion is an expectation of just 3 restaurants, and then the remaining tenant becomes an M or a B occupancy, an office type tenant, subject to the same kind of 500 square or 200 square foot per parking stall requirement. Not an expectation to pursue a 4th restaurant, but Dave, maybe you want to just discuss a little bit some tenant.
Absolutely, thank you. David Carlin with Venture Past Partners. The 4 tenant spaces that you see represented on the floor plan are actual committed tenants, as in letters of intent, and that we don't have leases completed at this point. We're really not, yet in a position to make an announcement, but they are 3 what we categorize as fast casual restaurants. The larger one on the end is 3,500 square feet, and that's kind of a fast-growing national out west, kind of a healthy soup salad kind of a concept. They don't serve wine or beer. And then the end cap is a more nationally known quick serve, not a fast food, but a quick serve concept. And they don't have beer or wine either. And then in the middle, there's a new concept by a national company that's in the center, and they do contemplate beer and wine. And then the dental practice is one of the national dental practices that you're seeing, real active in the marketplace now. So the space is essentially committed, and although it is designed to be ultimately a multi-tenant center. So at some point in time, it would be possible that you could replace a restaurant with a traditional retailer per se, or that the dental might be replaced by traditional retail.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Case.
So just along that line, and maybe more to Rick or our planning staff, but just that 10 years from now kind of issue, dental office doesn't work. We're in a we're approving a development plan now that will carry with this property. Is a percentage of it then going to remain office forever? Is that a square footage issue? I understand how it could switch around. I mean, could a small brew pub kind of, a little, no, couldn't. Rick's shaking his head, okay. Or just not a brew pub, or just not a restaurant? Or am I saying it wrong, or what? Yeah, I'm saying. Okay, go ahead.
Councilmember Case, Councilmember, so you'll see that our recommendation to you is that that language is incorporated into the development agreement that you would see on second reading that would reflect a maximum of 3 restaurant uses and 1 retail office use. So whatever combination that is, we're asking that that be locked in, and that would be into perpetuity.
And that's really driven by parking
Correct.
limitations.
It is completely driven by parking.
Right. I mean, could there be a day, which this wouldn't be a bad thing at all, if, well, it would be for Ruby Tuesdays based on what I'm going to say, but if the restaurant that's currently located in Ruby Tuesdays went away and it came back with some kind of configuration that didn't need its parking, could this development then somehow purchase rights to that? And then I don't see that as a bad thing, but then would they be able to come back and alter their developer's agreement to be able to have a 4th restaurant if they could get their parking?
Yes, the answer to that would be yes. So there could be other iterations as well with additional parking or other changes that happen on the entire site over time where the development agreement could come back for revision. But for now and until a revision, this is what would be in place, but it could always come back to this council or a future council.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilmember Wickstrom.
Yes, my question is about usage of the parking lot too and time of day. So the restaurants are lunch slash dinner, not breakfast, not used all day long.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So the dental office would have its own special time from 8 in the morning until 11:30. Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions of the proponent? Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this issue? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I would move to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution for planned unit development concept review on 1.67 acres and approve first reading of the ordinance for planned unit development district review with waivers and zoning district amendment within the commercial regional service zoning district on 1.67 acres and direct staff to prepare a development agreement incorporating staff and commission recommendations and council conditions.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Welcome to Eden Prairie. It looks like a beautiful building. And in case planning people didn't tell you, we're starting an award program for residents and commercial businesses for their landscaping. So hopefully you'll be a contender. Keep it colorful and well-maintained. Thank you.
Thank you.
No palm trees,
Thanks.
you mean? Or?
No palm trees.
I know, right.
Thank you.
Payment of claims. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Any items to discuss or question? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Aho.
Aye.
Councilmember Butcher Wickstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember Case.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Mayor Terralukens.
Aye. Let's see, we don't have a whole lot left on the agenda. We have report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have one item that I added tonight. You had mentioned awards, so I just wanted to bring forward an award to the council that the city of Eden Prairie recently received. The League of Minnesota Cities is an association that represents almost each and every city in the state of Minnesota, 800 and some cities that belong to the League of Cities. And they award once a year, they have a City of Excellence Award to 3 awards to 3 cities of different sizes. And in the category of population of 20,000 or more, the City of Eden Prairie received the award this current year for the work that we've done over the past 2 or 3 years with our snow and ice control program. A city service I think you've heard us talk quite a bit about during budget presentations and other presentations that we've put some time and energy in the last 3 years or so into really upping our game in snow and ice removal. We were recognized for a rewritten policy of our city where our response time and ability has increased. The installation throughout our city of road and weather stations to monitor conditions. We also deployed automatic vehicle locating and material locating systems so we could track where our trucks are to better respond to different situations across the city and track our materials and use a proper amount of materials. And not to be outdone by police and fire, Public Works created an incident command center for snow and ice incidents. They are, I think as we've always said, this is the forefront, the meat and potatoes of a city service, and you've got to do it well and do it right. And I'm pleased to announce that our city was recognized for it. So I'd like to, thank the Public Works Director, Mr. Ellis, and his entire team. And we also have, members of other departments such as Parks that also play a big role in our snow and ice control as well. So all the employees that really rallied around our program and want to provide a good service is something we're really proud of. And apparently we're also going to receive a check for $1,000 to the city of Eden Prairie for the award. So
Great.
we will maybe put that right back into our snow and ice program if need be. So I just wanted to bring that to the council and mention that we received that recognition.
That's great. Congratulations, staff. Another example of being innovative, cost efficient, and meeting the public need with a great service. Thank you. I didn't get a single call this past year on snow removal issues.
In fact, I got
So
a
you're
number
doing
of
great
calls
job.
of people who were so happy. There was
Yeah,
one large
yeah.
snowstorm where people said they were traveling home from work, where they worked up in Minnetonka, and the roads were, the moment they got to the Eden Prairie border, the roads went from very, very treacherous to almost bare. So,
Good job. Good job.
We thought a 80-plus degree day in July is a really good opportunity to talk about snow and ice
Yeah.
control.
Yeah, definitely.
no blizzards in schedule.
Okay, report of our Public Works Director on the DEIS. Comments?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council members. So, as you're aware, the LRT alignment through Eden Prairie really changed significantly from what was evaluated in the draft environmental impact statement. So, specifically from Golden Triangle to the end of the alignment, if you can remember far enough back, it used to be on Technology Drive and it used to be along Highway 212, and then that shifted as a result of comments during the draft environmental impact statement. So they had to re-review all of that environmental as we looked at essentially the alignment as we know it today. So staff has reviewed the supplemental draft environmental impact statement, and we've offered 8 general comments and then a number of detailed, very project-specific comments that we'd be asking you to support tonight so that we may send that to the project office so they can respond appropriately and incorporate that into the plans. And if I may just take a couple of minutes and go over those 8 general comments. I'll start with the first one, and that's continued support for an alignment that includes 5 stations in Eden Prairie and ends at Mitchell Station. So, as you know, that's not what's in the cards at this point in time, but if by some chance there was funding available, I think there's still support that we would want to see that alignment built as we have contemplated it over the last couple of years. The second comment, a design that complements and coordinates with the services offered by Southwest Transit. Again, a very big partner for our community. We don't want them lost in this whole discussion with LRT. We want them to work together through the design and through construction, which is very important because there are services that will be provided while this project is underway. So another critical comment that we have. Number 3, design of an LRT bridge adjacent to Purgatory Creek Park that has appropriate context and complements the park setting and experience. So we've talked about the bridge adjacent to Veterans Memorial Purgatory Park. Our comment is simply, this is in a park, that bridge is context and appearance needs to complement it. Number 4, avoiding and minimizing construction impacts to Purgatory Park and its users. Again, there will be a period of time where that's under construction. We have a lot of events that are planned, 5Ks, you name it. We want to make sure that that isn't lost when they're putting together the construction plans and design plans, that there will be users during construction as well as after. Number 5, an LRT bridge over Valley View Road and Flying Cloud Drive that eliminates curves. Perhaps we haven't talked as much about that publicly, but this has been very important privately at a staff level. That bridge is very large, has a number of curves in it that we feel is an inferior design Fortunately, we have seen a modification to that where it straightens it out, moves it away from the bank that's there, and there were concerns about being that close to a business. So again, we're just reinforcing that comment that we didn't like that design. We have seen since then some modifications that are being proposed. Number 7, proper screening and location of traction-powered substations, signal bungalows, and other LRT accessory equipment. We kind of forget that there are some pieces to this system that aren't very pleasing to look at, and we want to see those things screened and hidden where possible so that they're not an eyesore. So again, our comment is reflecting on that, and those details we'll learn a little bit more about as we approach final design. And then the last comment is mitigation and or minimizing of construction impacts on surrounding businesses and residents. We're talking about construction in 17, 18, and 19. That's 3 years. We've got businesses that need to stay in business. We have property owners and residents that need to get sleep, need to get in and out of their houses. We don't want that lost as we're just focusing on design, that there are construction impacts that need to be addressed as well. So those are the 8 general comments, and like I mentioned, we have a number of very detailed comments about sidewalk width and things like that that I don't need to get into tonight. But with your approval, we'll be sending that letter to the project office so that they incorporate and respond to those comments as part of the supplemental draft environmental impact statement as they move into the final environmental impact statement.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Ellis? Thank you for that presentation. And then we need a motion, yes.
I don't have any questions. I just have some comments
Sure.
before we take a vote on this. As you all know, I still have a lot of concerns about the project as a whole in terms of how it impacts Eden Prairie and especially with some of the changes that are taking place. I still have many concerns. I don't have concerns with sending or submitting our comments in terms of the SDIS to the project, because I think these are things that are going to be if the project is constructed, these are beneficial to Eden Prairie and to our businesses and residents. So that's my only comment.
Yeah, yeah. It's really kind of a different type of vote.
It's a different kind of a vote.
It's like assuming this comes, these are our comments about what it should be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Did we get a motion in a second? Okay.
I move to adopt. Can you hear me? I move to adopt the resolution to submit comments on the Southwest Light Rail Transit Supplemental Draft Environmental Impact Statement.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. The motion passes. We don't really have anything else left on the agenda, but I would just like to, before we close, commend staff, particularly the Park and Rec Department, for an outstanding 4th of July celebration. Yes. Do you have any idea on attendance numbers, Mr. Lothammer?
Your Honor, council members, that's always a difficult one. Our best estimate, we always say 10,000 and above on the day of the 4th of July. As many of you were aware and participated on the 3rd of July, that we just got started a couple of years ago, and it was a great turnout for that event as well, and I would expect that to keep growing, especially we had a great musical performance, a couple great performances, and I think as people continue to understand that that's a good way to spend a night as a part of your holiday weekend, that would pick up too. So I think when we look at throughout the day on the 4th of July, there are people streaming in and out during the day, but then that big influx at night, our best estimate is above that 10,000 people for the day.
Yeah. Well, I just think it was wonderful, and I loved the way we didn't start our fireworks till really the sky was sufficiently dark. We saw from the distance some fireworks from other communities coming across Round Lake pretty early on, and I think it really kind of loses the impact. But it was a great backdrop as you looked at the band performing on stage to see some of those fireworks. That was fun. And then ours started, and the sky was just lit up, and I don't think there was a second that a firework wasn't going off. It was amazing, and it seemed coordinated with the music. It was so fantastic. Is it the same company that's always been doing it?
We have for the past couple of years used the same company.
They really outdid themselves, I think. Yeah. Councilmember Wickstrom?
Yes, I also wanted to say, I know last year we had talked about really sort of amping up this big celebration, because this is one of our keystones that we do in the city. We do many things, but the 4th of July celebration is one that people create as a tradition in their families. Very, very important to our sort of hometown feel, our connection to community. And so I really felt that this year, and I've been going for I don't even know how many decades, or as long as you've been having them. This was really by far the highest quality. And then also the events beforehand, but the food was better this year too. There were some kind of healthy options and not just fried food. So I really appreciated that as well. We had the opportunity to have multiple choices, but really fantastic. And everybody, it was very positive. Everybody was very, very happy the way it turned out. So thank you.
A comment on the attendance too. A couple years ago, I went left and went west on Valley View afterwards, and what surprised me, because I had really only experienced it from the park beginning to end, what surprised me is how many front yards along Valley View and even a block or two off as I headed west had big parties, and it was really a gathering event in people's yards that were fairly close to the park or west over where the fireworks were. So, we kind of count what's at the park, but it's quite a number even outside of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.